Welcome to Jung at Harp. This is episode number 213. What is your relationship to resistance, and what is it in our relationship to the thing we're resisting that creates discord, that blocks us from wanting to act? This topic is relevant to Deborah and I. We hope it's relevant to you. I'm Kathleen Wiley, a Jungian psychoanalyst in North Carolina, and I am here with Deborah Henson-Conant, who is a composer, performer, educator, creative. We both play the harp. My harp is hidden over here, and that's why we call this Jung at Harp. And we meet almost weekly to have a conversation about a question that's relevant to our lives and hopefully to yours, and to explore it and to see what that creative process of relationship, which is also an open process of dialogue, might birth together. And so if you are watching and joining us live, you are hopefully on a platform you can put in comments and also put your voice into the milieu of the alchemical crucible here to see what bubbles up. And also remember, you can find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. So resistance.
Under Jung at Harp?
Yes, under Jung at Harp.
And just for everybody who is like, oh, Jung at Heart. No, this is Jung as in Carl Jung at harp, like the instrument.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, we've already gotten a request this morning. Okay, interesting. Just a little. We've been asked for just a little bit of Nightingale. And you know what? I can start with that and talk a little bit about relationship and discord, because this tune is a tune that was inspired by my mother's voice. And my mother's voice had both beauty and discord in it. And being able to write this song when I left home when I was 16, because there was so much discord that had elevated into violence actually in my home. And I went and I lived with another family. And it took me a long time to be able to shift from the discord in my mind. That is, my mother is evil and my mother is an angel. Her voice, her gentleness sometimes, her philosophical way was this beautiful, beautiful thing. And at the same time, or it would switch, she would be very violent and towards me. And reconciling these, there was a moment in my life, and these two things, the song came first, but there was a moment in my life when I was just like, is she a rabid, beast, or is she this wonderful thing? And I was just going back and forth. And I was out for a run, and it was at twilight, and I was just like, and then part of me just said, yes, she is both. This is called paradox. And because she is this, it doesn't mean she isn't that. And because she is this does not mean she isn't that. And my job is to allow all of that to be so. All of it to be so. And not to say that none of it happened, not to let one thing deny the other, but to let the whole person, without saying you have to decide which she is. So I hope you can hear this. I never know what's being heard online and how, but whoa. I have to pull this back, and I'm having that harpist moment where there's something behind the harp that's making it impossible to see the strings.
Yes.
We'll sing for the night. night is gone, when the daylight comes, who will sing for the nightingale when she sleeps alone in the sun? Many's the time her silken tones soothed my rough and weary bones. Many's the time her lullaby took me to my rest. But who will sing for the nightingale? Her own sweet song is silent now. Who will sing for the nightingale when she sleeps alone in the sun? When she sleeps alone in the sun.
Beautiful.
Being able to sing that song, knowing everything, and knowing that everything that I experienced is like being able to forgive an experience of my life and therefore get it back in a way, to reconcile it, to take the discord out of it, to stop resisting it. In that moment on the bike path, when I was able to say, yes, she was all of this, and certainly I am too. Certainly I am all those things, and one does not negate the other. Mm-hmm. This was a moment when I was able to stop resisting that. There are so many other things in life that I have not, and as I'm saying this, that I have not let go of that resistance. And as I'm saying this to you, I'm thinking, wow, if I were able to, as I become able to, this is a song that came out of my being able to let go. And somewhere, so I can't remember which happened first, and what else might come into my life by shifting that relationship to the resistance.
You've touched people deeply with your sharing this morning.
Yeah, I'm going to just pull this up. This comment. I have loved that when she sleeps alone in the sun, and it's a reference to just a specific moment in the life of my mother and my brother and myself, in which we had come to visit her when we knew that she was very, very sick. And he and I were sitting on the couch together doing something. We were all in the room together doing something, and she was reconciling her bank statement, her checkbook, and she fell asleep in the middle of the day. And there was just this one moment of such beauty and calm, and maybe it doesn't serve to actually put the life moment versus what someone. Sorry, I am stuttering right now. Anyway, you know why? Because I'm thinking, am I sharing too much? Am I destroying somebody else's vision of this by this? It's so, and that's a resistance as well.
Well, what we have to remember is that the universal is in the specific. So you're sharing your personal meaning of that phrase in no way diminishes the largesse of what Jung might have called the archetypal image or archetypal experience of the sleeping in the sun and all of what that might evoke for people. But you're sharing this morning, your powerful, powerful sharing, I think exemplifies so much of what we were talking about and holding together prior to coming live, which is that somehow there is something in the relationship to the thing, in this case, the thing being your mother or your history, that creates a discord that blocks our energy. And when somehow, and just plain, this is oversimplifying for sure, but in the moment you could accept your mother, like you, like I, like all of us, we're both the beauty and the beast. It's both. That's the paradox of being a human being, is that it all coexists. And how do we then begin to be in relationship, conscious relationship to all those aspects of ourselves in a way that they can begin to temper and balance one another? That's the work of consciousness, the work of individuation. And your song it brought all that together in a musical way. It has its own music, it's its own language that can balance things out and hold it all together. And it's both touching and heartfelt and melancholic and longing and um, its own celebratory. I mean, it's all of it. Yeah.
Yes, and I'd love to talk about my resistance to performing it, but I want to, before we do, I want to, you were saying something before we started at the moment when we were like, yes, let's talk about this. You were talking, I thought you were talking about a situation in which it was being explored how the analyst and analysand, how a resistance, isn't that what you had?
Yeah. So one of the things that I shared, and I just want to say we have a comment, clarity and peace is born from resistance. And yeah, clarity and peace is born from resistance, or clarify and peace then is born from resistance, both and. Yeah. I was sharing that I was watching a continuing education video that was talking about resistance in the therapeutic setting, but so that often in psychology we'll talk about the resistance of a client to change, the resistance to something new. And this particular presenter was saying that the resistance is that the resistance is an expression of discord in the relationship between what the therapist might be offering in that moment and what the client is ready and able to receive. So that instead of looking at resistance as a function of one party, it's a function of both. So then I think I started in my own mind, and I think we kind of holding together. So if I'm resistant to posting on social media, then the resistance is not just about me alone, that I'm a part of it, but the social media is a part of it. And how then do we begin to look at the larger context instead of always thinking it's on us? Our resistance, there's something in the relationship that creates a discord that we resist, I think.
Yeah, well, that's very, very interesting. And because I'm gonna pull this up. I'm so taken by the fact that we came up with this concept of resistance and discord, and then someone immediately before we even started asked for this song. And I think there is within this song and in my resistance to it and our resistances to relationships, because it's a song about a specific relationship in which there was great discord. Right. And resistance. And this person is saying, to me, the nightingale honors the relationship of the mother archetype and the universal experience of loss. Yes, yeah. That's true. And I know that I was very resistant to singing this song for a long time because it came out of me so simply that it almost seemed like a non-song to me. And I was resisting, and this is relevant in this moment, Kathleen, because when you talked about the relationship to social media, which I feel is often a relationship in which I fear above all things to be to get criticized from myself or others, either through something that more likely from, hey, you don't match up, you didn't get the right number of hits, or you weren't popular enough, and I can just trace back all the things that it resurfaces in me from my younger times. Mm-hmm. For example, I can barely talk about my anxiety about social media without saying, yeah, I had my one party that I threw as a kid. Only 3 people came, and they just came for 10 minutes. And what does that say? And what does that say about me? And interestingly, one of those 3 people, and I had this party when I was 14, one of these 3 people is still a beloved friend. So I think, what does that say? And I honestly never thought about that retelling of that story, because I think about social media and I immediately think about, why am I doing this? What's the relevance of it? It's funny because we're actually doing social media right now, and it's extremely relevant to me. Every part of this is extremely relevant to me, that I'm talking to you, that we're continuing a conversation that began in your car 20 years ago at this point. And that my life is a stand for that kind of relationship and that kind of conversation, that we found a social media platform that allows us to have other people in the conversation. That's something that I stand for. Yeah. And so part of me is like, well, Deborah, get on this social media platform 50 times a day if this is where you feel like you can communicate. Okay.
But what you're saying again is the power of relationship, that there isn't a discord for you and I, and for those of you who join us weekly, in coming together in this format. I don't dread this, but I also don't have any great expectations of, we're going to have 1,000 people join live. It's just like, we show up. It's meaningful to us. It's meaningful to the people who come and who watch us afterwards, or they wouldn't watch. And that's what matters, And so I do think when we think about the relationships to other people, or to, in this case, social media, stopping to ask ourselves, what is the source of the discord? What is it in my way of relating and my attitude of relating and the focus of relating? Because when I can shift my focus, that the reason I'm going to go on Instagram and post a reel is I just want to show up and be a voice of inspiration that says, hey, here's something simple that's easy to do today to connect with the self you are. When I can remember that's what it's about, it's my offering a contribution that maybe will make somebody's life better. I'm always so touched when people tell me, the season of Lent for the Christian church just ended a few weeks ago. And I pulled together my book of meditations on the promise of spring and Easter, I don't know, a long time ago, probably a decade ago. And still this spring, when I had people say to me, oh, I got your book, I'm working through your book, or I pulled your book out, every year I pull it out and go through it. I can't tell you what I feel inside, but do I have great big numbers I could go and document, I've sold X number of books? I have no idea, to be honest, So I think that somehow resistance and discord for me comes back to the meaning. Just like you had to overcome the meaning you had made of the Nightingale being too simple for anyone to value it. And yet it's your most beloved song. Yeah, publicly. So, because it resonates with people. It speaks to them. It comes straight from the heart. And as someone said, it is that relationship of the archetypal mother and the experience of loss, because none of us get the mother, the perfect mother. We get the good enough mother if we're lucky, according to Winnicott. Yeah, we don't, so there's always loss, but the loss And the loss of the, frenzy or ecstaticness or fastness in the song The Nightingale, it doesn't detract from what it has.
Well, and that was a struggle for me, and I'd like to talk about that struggle. But I also want to say that you and I talked this morning. We were talking about social media right now, and we talked about I'm doing a social media, not a social. Yeah, I'm doing a social media visibility challenge. I'm taking a challenge. So I do 4 challenges a year in improvisation, but I love challenges. I love what you learn in a challenge. And one of the reasons that I'm saying this is I took another kind of, I took an AI, which I know has, anyway, I'm not going to go into the good or bad of AI right now, but I took a class from this same person who's teaching. She happens to be my favorite challenge teacher. In fact, I took a challenge in how to make challenges from this person, which is how I now make. But I took a challenge about a month ago in making AI images, and I enjoyed what I learned. I really enjoyed what I learned. And I enjoyed that I was learning to do something in a way that gave me both freedom and structure. And that's very important to me. And so I began sharing. I was sharing, joyfully sharing what I was creating, at least in the beginning. And then I got anxious about it and was like, oh, is this good? At first it was just like, oh, could I create? It's that specific experience. And I'm going to take it back to, I've talked about this before, when I first learned the alphabet. I had learned the alphabet, but I was learning how to make words. And I remember my mother saying, she wrote word cat or dog or something like that. And she showed it to me and I was like, wait a second. Okay, so you're saying you just put the letters together and that's how you make words. And she was like, yep, that's how it works. And I was like, got it. All right, I'm going to make the best word ever. And I go I'm like 4 or something like that. And I go and I'm all these letters together. And I'm thinking, this is the best word like if anyone's ever made in the entire world. And I hold it up and I'm like, what is this? What does this say? And she looks at it and she says, nothing. And I was crushed at the moment. And that moment was really important because the moment light in I know how to do this. It was so delightful. And then the moment afterwards, we're like, well, no, you don't. And I've had that same experience in this particular challenge, in that I was told how to do something. I did it. In the first one, I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. And I put it up and people were like commenting on it and blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, now the next one, I started completely overthinking it. This, or how do I do that? Now, why am I saying this? Because my relationship to the first was the joy of sharing something I had just discovered, the joy of sharing something I had just discovered versus trying to build something that would be good. And this is what I see in teaching improvisation to harpists, that when people, because I teach it by teaching, like if I were going to teach the Nightingale to somebody, I would teach it by saying, this is built of a descending bass line that goes like this. Da da dee, da da dee, da dee, da 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 dee, da 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 dee, da da da. I would say that. And so, because if I said that and I showed them that, someone who could sing it could immediately, whether you play the harp or don't play the harp, you could immediately do this. You would be in the moment of discovery, right? That moment of discovery is absolutely wonderful. But the minute you shift into, but I'm not doing it right, then comes the discord and the disconnect.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so I get, so I wanted to say, I'm taking a visibility challenge next week. I invite everybody to join me. I just sent Kathleen the link. I'm going to put the link here. I don't know if it comes through. This is my special link that says it's like my affiliate link. I like this thing. I like this teacher so much that I actually said, I want to be like part of this. Like, I want to share this with people. So this is my affiliate link. I've never been I have been an affiliate recently. So now I'm all excited about being an affiliate, which means sharing people's things. I just shared another harpist amazing project, and I shared something for Learn the Harp. And it was just really fun to be like, ooh, what else can I share here? Ooh, what are people going to learn over here versus what they learned from me? You know, how can people, what's this big wide world of things that people can learn and do together? So Kathleen, I think my caffeine just hit in. Blah, 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 blah. And I know you have
Why don't you pull up Victoria's comment while I say what you're talking about is all about relationship. I mean, here we are again, is that being in relationship fuels energy. It fuels, so being in relationship to Christy Lynn and Learn the Harp, it ignites energy. Being in relationship to this teacher of the challenge, it ignites energy. So the power of relationship, where there is a synergy, where things can come together, or where there is an obstacle where something can be born of, like, flint meeting stone, because that's a relationship too that starts with friction, but then some fire emerges, life emerges. So that willingness to be in relationship, even if it doesn't feel good, also is part of what is ultimately creative.
Well, I want to look at Victoria's comment. I want to hear more about what you just said. I want to go back to what you were saying, something about the relationship of the but let's start with Victoria's, and let's start with Deborah's taking a big breath, or as my aunt used to say, down, Deborah, down. Okay.
Oh, I have to share one quick thing. I had a young mother in my office one time with her son, who was just a few months old, and he's in his little bassinet sitting down but by her chair, and he's sleeping, and he suddenly goes, and so this has become a thing now. When my husband and I need to settle down, we call his name and we say, let's go. So anyway.
Okay, great. So Victoria, it's great to see Victoria. I feel like I love the people that we know who are here, and we get to see them, as well as new people. It's wonderful to get to be in social media and be in connection in the moment. So Victoria says, if it helps, I wonder about the relevance of social media as well. Maybe it is not about wanting to share. I personally don't enjoy the way social media works. The resistance lies in having to learn and work with the social media. Well, right. That reminds me of high school. Like, yeah, you can be popular if blah, 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 you do this. And yet I was thinking a minute ago, because of the experience we're having in this moment right now, that really what's important to me is to, even if in high school, was to find the people I want to have a conversation with. Mm-hmm. That's where, and even in my, that one party that I held when I was 13 or 14, and the one person who, of the three people who came, and one person I'm still friends with, it's because of our conversations,
right,
that we've had over the years.
Right. Right. But
Liza's just, hello.
Yeah. But I want to say to Victoria, because I think this for me is part of what sets up the resistance. If I get focused on, am I doing it according to their rules, then that's when I start to start judging it. I start saying, oh my God, it's not, oh, this or that. When I can just say, you know what? There are people out there who I resonate with, who will resonate with me. And I'm just going to put it out there like, Dharma rain or spaghetti on the wall, whatever metaphor. I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens. And almost inevitably, when I do a post, I'll end up with 1 or 2 new followers. So I think I have to find that, for me, I have to let go of worrying about the algorithms, and just say, okay, what's comfortable for me? And I do think, there are some people, and maybe this says something about me, which may or may not ultimately be good. I think if I decided I was going to try to be a climber and become an influencer, I would totally lose energy for doing any of it. But if I stay centered in my heart about connecting with people and making a positive difference, offering something that's life giving, that keeps me energized to keep going and doing it. So I do think your comment, Victoria, is so important, because I think that with any relationship to person or thing or object or whatever, we do have to find what is it that allows us to stay connected to our energy for doing it. What is it that allows us, it mobilizes us. That's it. What is it that
Right.
mobilizes me?
So I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm thinking about discord, and I'm thinking about people playing the harp and teaching improv. So again, I teach improv by giving people small, what we call snippets. They're just ideas that I've been playing with since I was a kid, and then you play around with them. So for example, I'm going to show you one, and then the point that I want to make is irrelevant, but I just want to show you how simple they are. Let me pull this down because I think it's in the way right now. The words are in the way, even though the concept is really the wind here. This is an improv prompt where I'm just playing two notes and then shifting one note. So I'm playing C and G and then C and A. And they end up representing two different chords, which is the chord of C and then the chord of G, of F, even though F isn't there. So just by that oscillation, I can the accompaniment is nothing you would have to think like, well, what chords am I playing or what am I doing? It's an oscillation, which just represents chords. And any note that I played up here, I could literally play any note and it would fit in, especially if I was doing it. However, what I notice is that especially people who come from classical music, as they do any kind of improvising, they will be listening for the wrong note, just like they would be if they were a teacher listening to someone playing classical music and listening for what's wrong. And one of the first things that I have to say over and over again to them and myself is, stop listening for what's wrong. Mm-hmm. Listen instead for, well, it's always find something to love. And sometimes the easiest thing to love is to think about who built this machine, who built this instrument. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just thinking about the person who built it and how it was built for resonance and how it was built for love, and then that relieves us of how am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Which is certainly how I feel often when I'm going into a situation where there are algorithms, which is very much like, here's a right and a wrong, something that's going to work, something that's going to let you be heard, and something that's going to not let you be heard and connect.
Right.
So I guess the thing that I'm curious about this visibility challenge, and I'm curious, I will immediately sign up for the VIP so that I can have more access to ask questions, because I think these psychological questions are important as well. How do I listen for the connection? Yeah. And certainly, we get to experience that here in droves, because we're connecting to each other, and then we get to, I'm just going to pull these up because we've got comments. I admire you for looking for ways to participate in social media that align with who you are and your values. And I think if you think about high school or junior high, if you can either be put under the thumb of the environment, or you can do this. Now, I know there's bullying, and it's easy to say this from the safety of having made school. So I don't want to belittle that it can be really tough to be in certain social situations, like super tough and to the point of suicidal. I've been in situations like that were so squashing down of the individuality that it becomes, you begin to understand how you would want to leave. Well, you must know that gazillion times more. And Liza is saying, I saw Deborah in Arles in a really wonderful, beautiful city and a beautiful festival. I got to listen to her masterclass for Baroque flamenco. It's mortal congratulations for great sharing. Oh, thank you so much. You know, it's so funny. I always see people write Baroque flamenco, and I'm pretty sure it's
flamenco.
Well, it is flamenco, but I think people are writing flamenco, but I think it's spell checked all the time. Which I think was super happy, because like when
yeah. Yeah. You know, we're gonna have to stop here. We're gonna have to stop in 2 or 3 minutes. Are there more comments to pull up here? Let's see.
There are more comments. I'm not going to bring them up.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I mean, Liza's saying her internet that she's just so happy for our conversations. Happy. Yes. Victoria's saying, as for Nightingale, I found that simple things that come from the heart have more impact on others than we imagined. A heartfelt creation is a heartfelt creation. Yes. And I think this is where a lot of resistance comes, as we become vulnerable through sharing the simple and the beautiful. And I just got to say, you know, Liza's comments, she's just saying, you know, I love the Nightingale and I'm so happy. And just these beautiful comments are just so heartfelt. Yeah, I want to be more comfortable with that. Go on. Yeah, Kathleen.
Well, and I want to say, and they're a response to your heartfelt sharing. You know, I think, again, this is a great place to kind of begin to move as we wrap up, is that because I always kind of go, so what is the antidote to resistance and discord for me? You know, it's like, and the antidote being is kind of like the homeopathic remedy. It would be another way of saying it. And I do think it is the heartfelt connection. You know, when I can move from my heart, it connects me to the source of life, the self in me that mobilizes me and energizes me. If I get all in the head trying to meet this list of standards or this algorithm or whatever, then that can take me away from the heart. I think the real key here for moving, at least for me in social media, and maybe this is as applicable in other places too, and I'm thinking about your sharing the Nightingale. Somehow I think it's about finding, it's like, okay, we have to know these are outer world realities, and these are the laws or principles of how this, you know, the publishing world works, or the entertainment industry works, or social media works, or the licensure laws work.
Or can I say usually works? So because sometimes something comes, this
usually works.
Yeah.
But then I have to come back once I know that and say, okay, so if I get into my center, then how can I move according to those laws in a way that I have integrity? Because then my heart leads in navigating that labyrinthine path to where I don't end up in the center of the labyrinth eaten by the Minotaur, which is what kept happening in Thebes.
Or in a conversation with the Minotaur about who knows what. Yes, understanding the guidelines. I want to just pull something in here, and I don't know if it's relevant, but it's just so music. There is a particular chord in modal improv magic. So I've been teaching modes, which means I've been learning about them, because that's how I teach, is I learn about something. And there's all these modes. There's Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and then there's Locrian, which sounds awful and was banned. I was looking at the history of it because it's so dissonant. It's called the devil's interval. And when I put the book Modal Improv Magic together, I was committed to playing all the modes and making music in all the modes, and discovered that, and maybe some composer is going to say, well, that's not fair, whatever, that this interval by itself, yes, but if you add one more note and even two more notes, you get something that sounds like this. Which has that interval in the heart of it, and is a very important chord. It's also the two if you're in the minor key. I don't know what this means, but if we continue this conversation, there's something important to me about that. That's something that is understood and heard as discordant without taking anything away. Even just adding 1 and 2, the whole relationship, the whole sound is different, and it is no longer discordant, although you have not taken away that discord. That discordant.
I think this is a great topic for next week. Is what do we add in that mitigates the discord? It's kind of like, again, my homeopathic. Right. What is it that needs to be added that shifts the whole experience?
Ooh, okay. So will I see you here next week? And will we remember?
I'm writing it down.
Okay, all right. Number 214. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Liz, for being here live for the first time. I think you said you're normally listening afterwards. And for the wonderful comment right at the beginning from Have No Lad 7. I love it. Have no lad. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And also Tovala, thank you so much. And for everyone else, and of course for Victoria, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. And really from the beginning and throughout it. Yeah. And this was really a wonderful experience to have that from the very beginning. Kathleen, it's wonderful to have you back. I'm so happy. And anyone who wants to take this visibility challenge with me, let me know. Go to hipharp.com, use there's a contact form. Okay. That's ask a question you can send to me, and I'll send you the link for it. And Kathleen, I already texted it to you.
I'll be there.
And I think I put it in. Okay, good. All right. And we'll have fun with that all together. Thank you so much, and see you next week.
Visit jungatharp.com for show notes, contact links, and to follow the ongoing conversation. That's Jung, as in Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, and harp, as in the many-stringed instrument.